Welcome. My name is Guy Dauncey. I'm active with the Yellow Point Ecological Society. And tonight, as a contrast to all the other things we've been doing, we're going to talk BioBlitz. And to join us with learning about what a BioBlitz is, we're going to have Mandy Hobkirk from the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Reserve Research Project at VIU. And we're going to have Carrie-Lyn Robinson, also from VIU, talking about our local plans. And if you're new to the Yellow Point Ecological Society, I'm going to just say, go to our website and find out. We're doing all sorts of things. And I'm still admitting people here. And so I'm going to get things going right away by introducing Mandy Hobkirk, who's been a nature lover for a long time and is very active with the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Reserve, where they've recently done their own biosphere, their own BioBlitz, to get the words right. So Mandy, over to you.
Thanks, Guy. I am just going to go ahead and share my screen now so we can get started. Okay. So as said, my name is Mandy Hobkirk and I'm the coordinator for the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region. And today the question we're going to answer is, what is a BioBlitz? So I'll start with a quick overview. To get started, we're going to do a quick highlight of the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region, just to provide some context, as we recently hosted our own BioBlitz event. After that, we're going to get into the what, where, and why of a BioBlitz. So what a BioBlitz is, where you can conduct one, and why you should participate. After that, we're going to discuss the annual Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region's BioBlitz, again, to provide some context and some examples for you. Following that, we're going to go through some basics of Inaturalist, a very high level, just quick and brief. And then we're going to finish off with some tips and tricks. So the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region was designated by UNESCO in 2000. Biosphere reserves or regions are learning sites for sustainability. There are also sites for testing interdisciplinary approaches to understanding and managing changes and interactions between social and ecological systems. The Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region, or MABR, is one of 714 around the world and one of 18 in Canada. The MABR is located on eastern Vancouver Island. It ranges from Nanoose Bay to Qualicum Bay, and from the top of Mount Arrowsmith down 300 meters into the Salish Sea. The MABR is within the traditional territory of 7 First Nations communities, and its boundaries are defined by 5 different watersheds. One of the goals of the MABR is to promote a human-nature connection. We also have 4 strategic objectives, one of which is to conserve biodiversity. To conserve biodiversity, we need to know what's there, and that is where the BioBlitz comes in. So the MABR has been hosting BioBlitz events since 2016. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our event last year due to the pandemic. So this year we decided we were going to try and find a new way to continue on with hosting our BioBlitz event in a social distance manner that's safe for everyone, and we can keep it going. So what is a BioBlitz? In essence, a BioBlitz is a rapid biological survey, and that biological survey provides a snapshot of the biodiversity of the area that you're looking at. The goal of a BioBlitz is to document as many plants, animals, fungi, etc., any living thing really, as many as possible in an allocated time frame. And this time frame can range from a few hours to a few days to a few weeks, depending on the host and what you're trying to get out of it, or if there's a question you're trying to answer by conducting the BioBlitz event. Next is where. So where can you host a BioBlitz, or where can you participate? And really, you can do this anywhere you like, especially if you're going to use something like the Inaturalist app. You can BioBlitz in your own backyard or in any location of interest. There are quite a few common locations included in the Inaturalist database, such as provincial parks or regional parks, but not everything shows up there. So for example, the Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Region's boundaries were not included in Inaturalist, but luckily we were able to create that place using our shape files we were able to upload the boundaries so we could use this as our BioBlitz boundaries. So you can see that on the right-hand side, and all of the little red pins in the map are observations that were collected during our BioBlitz event. Next, too far. Next is why. So why host a BioBlitz or participate in a BioBlitz event? BioBlitzes help establish baseline information of species. So it's helpful in showing you what's there and what's not. They also contribute to an improved understanding of local natural resources. So understanding the natural resources and how they're doing. Is there an abundance of them? Are they in decline? Are they being threatened? That sort of thing. BioBlitz events can also help you find new, rare, or endangered species. So for example, the picture on the bottom here is of a marbled murrelet. So this bird species was found in our 2016 BioBlitz and our 2017 BioBlitz, but unfortunately not found in our 2018 or 2019 BioBlitz. The status of this bird is endangered and the population is decreasing, which we could kind of compare to our BioBlitz data and see that that makes sense. We're also in a biodiversity crisis right now, thanks to climate change, development, invasive species, and habitat loss. So it's important to have a record of what's there in terms of biodiversity. BioBlitz events also help show a change over time. So as mentioned with the bird species in the last slide, other examples could include invasive species. So you might BioBlitz a location such as Rathtrevor Provincial Park one year and not see any invasive species. Perhaps the next year you see a couple of Scotch broom plants popping up, and the year after that they've completely taken over. So these events are really great in showing that change and those trends over time. BioBlitz events also embrace citizen science, so it's a great way to involve the community. You don't have to be an expert to participate, especially if you're using the iNaturalist app. All you need is your cell phone. It's great to provide these opportunities, especially in times like these where we can't travel and we're looking for ways to get outdoors and appreciate our natural areas. That being said, BioBlitz events connects local community members, in our case, also students and faculty, as well as knowledge holders, naturalists, and scientists. So here are a few pictures from before we decided to use the iNaturalist app. So this was pre-pandemic. Before the pandemic, we would usually do a BioBlitz of 1 or 2 locations within the Biosphere region. Most often, one of these locations was Milner Gardens and Woodlands, which is where these pictures are taken from. So on the left, top and bottom, we have some folks identifying plants. In the center, we've got birds, and on the right-hand side, bugs and other critters. We would usually have between 30 and 70 people come out and to participate in the BioBlitz event. Normally, we would just have a morning and an afternoon session, and we would get it all wrapped up in one day. We would have folks recording data on data sheets and using identification guides and books, as well as we would have one expert in the field per group. So we'd have an expert in identifying flora, fauna, insects, that sort of thing. Now we've got some photos from our most recent BioBlitz event. So after using the iNaturalist app, as you can see, we have a pretty impressive diversity of species captured here, which we're really happy about. The main difference between post-pandemic BioBlitz and pre-pandemic was the location and the length of the event. So this year we decided to use the entire biosphere region's boundaries to blitz. So that's roughly 1,200 square kilometers. And we stretched it out so that we had the BioBlitz over 3 full days, April 16th to 18th. Using the iNaturalist app, our participants were able to collect an impressive 803 observations, including 373 distinct species. From this, this information was all gathered from 31 observers. So you don't necessarily need a huge number of participants to obtain a great deal of data. So now we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into iNaturalist itself. So iNaturalist is an app where you can record and organize your nature findings. You can also learn more about the natural world and explore your local environment. The hope that iNaturalist has is that it will create extensive community awareness of local biodiversity, as well as promote exploration of local environments, which is so crucial right now. Due to the pandemic and not being able to travel, why not get to know your own area even better? Now, the basic unit, if you will, of iNaturalist is called an observation. And what that is an observation records an encounter with an individual organism at a particular time and a particular location. Now, photos that are attached to these observations should include evidence of the actual organism at the time that you observed it. So on the right-hand side, I've just included a screenshot of an observation that I took during our BioBlitz event. So I saw a red flowering current and I stopped to take a photo. The app then automatically included my location, the date, and the time, as well as a suggestion as to what that plant might be, which confirmed it was a red flowering currant. So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into how to use the app and how to create your own observation. Again, just a very, very high level. I'm not going to go into too much depth, but step 0, which isn't necessarily listed here, is to download the app and create an account. It's free to do so, and you can do it on any kind of smartphone, Apple, Android is good to go. So step 1 is open the iNaturalist app. Step 2 is to find your specimen, whether that's a plant, bird, bug, mushroom, you name it, and then click observe, which the orange arrow is pointing to here on the right. Once you do that, it's going to give you 4 options. Excuse me. So you can either select no photo. So perhaps a bird was in the middle of the trail and you pulled out your phone to take a photo and it flew away, but you're confident that you know what that bird is. You just weren't able to get a picture of it. That's fine. You can hit no photo. The other option is camera. So if you hit camera, you can take a picture right then and there using the app. Or you can choose a photo from your gallery or your camera roll if you have a picture on your phone, but you didn't take it through the app. Or the last option is to record a sound. So if you're in the forest and there's a bird singing in a tree, but you can't quite see the bird through the foliage, but you want to record it anyways, you can just record the sound that it's making and upload that instead. So once you've uploaded either your recording or your photo, the next thing is going to be, what did you see? Number 3 over here. Now, iNaturalist has a really impressive database with millions of observations. So based on what you've uploaded and where you uploaded it from, iNaturalist is going to provide you with 10 recommendations as to what that species might be. So based on plants found nearby, if it somewhat matches the photo you took, it's going to provide recommendations as to what it could be. If you are not confident yourself in what the species is, and you're not really confident in the suggestions either, you can always just label it as plant, bird, frog, whatever it might be, just very generic, as someone can come along later and help you identify it using the app. Moving down one, there's a notes section, which you don't have to fill in, but if you have anything noteworthy that you'd like to share, maybe you want to say, first observation in the Yellow Point Ecological Society's BioBlitz, you can put that there. Or if you found something under a log or in an odd place, you can include a note. The next 2 are the date and time and the location of your observation. As long as the location setting on your phone is turned on, this information will be automatically uploaded for you. You don't have to do anything, so that's nice. Further down, there's the Geoprivacy Setting. So that is optional. It's either a yes or a no. If your Geoprivacy setting is off, iNaturalist is going to use the GPS coordinates from your phone, and it's going to pinpoint where you took that location or that observation from. If your Geoprivacy is on, iNaturalist will create a bubble, so kind of a broader range of where that observation was taken from. Just to kind of protect your privacy a bit more if you choose to take that route. The next one is captive or cultivated. So if you photograph a bird that's in someone's outdoor aviary, you would select yes for captive or cultivated. If you find a plant in a trail in a park, you would select no, it's not captive or cultivated. And the last option here is projects. So for our BioBlitz, we created a project on Inaturalist called MABR Biosphere Blitz. So our participants could go and search through the app for that project name, and they could join it then and there. So you can always go and search specific project names, but you can also just search for projects nearby. So there might be something that you're not aware of that's going on, but you are looking for something that you can take part in. So that's an option too. So now I'm just going to go through a few tips and tricks to help everyone get on their way. The first one I would recommend is practice using the app before participating in a BioBlitz event. Often BioBlitz events can be kind of time restricting. So if you only have an afternoon to participate, you want to make sure that you're comfortable and confident using the app by the time you're ready to participate in the event. The next one is turn on your data or your Wi-Fi if possible, just so it's uploaded right away. Again, if it's time sensitive, you want to make sure that your information is being uploaded as soon as possible so that it still fits within the project's parameters. And the next one is video tutorials. So the iNaturalist website has some really, really great video tutorials. They're not too long, just a few minutes each, and I found them really helpful. So if you want to upload your observations through the iNaturalist website instead of the app, you can do that. It's a little bit different, so they've got a tutorial to show you how. Another one is using a camera instead of a smartphone. So if you have a passion for photography and you would rather capture a higher quality photo and then upload it later, you can do so. But you will have to geotag your photos so that iNaturalist knows the location where that photo came from. So just another video tutorial that would be helpful in that case. And I see there's a hand up. Did you want to ask a question?
Yes, Greg Roberts here. Before you get too far, I was experimenting with iNaturalist the other day to try to figure all this stuff out that we're talking about. And one of the things I noticed was my timestamp must have been Eastern time, because I was out mid-morning and it showed up 3:45 a.m. or I don't know, maybe it's Japanese time, I'm not sure. Anyways, and I couldn't find the settings to change the timestamp, even though my phone is the correct time. So I'm wondering if there's a setting to change that. So that was my first question. And in terms of taking the pictures, there's some plants that it would be useful to be able to have several pictures from different angles or showing the root structure, leaf structure, flower structure for an identification. And I couldn't find a way to have multiple pictures attached to that one observation. So those are my two questions for now.
Yeah, those are really great questions. I actually had the same problem with the time setting at first when I first became a user. I'm not overly experienced. I just kind of learned as I went for the sake of our BioBlitz. But the one thing I have noticed is that the app on your phone is sort of limited in what you can do. Whereas if you go onto a computer, or even if you just search iNaturalist on the website and log in through a web browser, there's a lot more options for what you can do. So through the web browser, or if you're on a computer, you can change your time settings, your time zone in there. Because mine was set to, I think it was a different country, but yeah, it was quite off to begin with. So I would definitely recommend checking the website out for kind of some more in-depth settings rather than just your phone.
Okay, thanks, Mandy.
You're welcome.
The other one was multiple pictures of the same plant or same observation.
Yeah, I'm going to, maybe we can just have a look at that after. I'm just gonna do a couple more tips. Multiple pictures was one of them. And then after, I think the presentation, we can maybe walk through uploading multiple pictures at once.
Super. I was gonna do that in mine. I noticed that was missing. So just so you know, Mandy, I'm gonna do a little demonstration on that.
Oh, perfect. Wonderful. Okay, so we're all set. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
Okay, So yeah, just a couple more tips, and these are just specifically about taking photos for your observations. So the first one is to get closer. As you can see, the picture on the left-hand side is taken from a distance, and if you're not super familiar with your tree species, you might have a difficult time identifying this one. The foliage is far away, you can't make out kind of the individual branches. The bark is a bit clearer, but again, if you're not super familiar, you might struggle. So on the right-hand side, you can see this is a very clear close-up shot of Western red cedar's branch. So even if you're not super familiar, you want to give others who are going to help you identify things through the app the easiest time to help with that. The next one was to capture multiple angles. So iNaturalist does let you upload multiple pictures per observation. So depending on the characteristics that you want to include or the information you're looking for, you might want to upload multiple pictures per observation. So for this example, these are 2 pictures of the same crab, but here you can now tell not only what species of crab it is, but also if it's a male or female. And the last tip I had was to take sharp and focused photos. So on the left-hand side, you might be able to tell that there's 2 ducks, but it might not be high quality enough to determine what species of ducks they are. Whereas on the right-hand side, it's up close, it's sharp, it's focused. You can see every detail on this pine weevil. So again, this is just going to help yourself afterwards or help others to identify what species this is. So just to wrap up the session, we had a really positive experience using the iNaturalist app. We captured more species per BioBlitz event than we had in the past, which was really great. It's also a COVID-friendly activity, and as I've expressed, I think those are really important right now. People want to get out of the house, they want to contribute to research. So it's a great way to have people participate in these things. Also, it's user-friendly and anyone with the app can participate, so you don't have to have a lot of experience identifying flora or fauna or things like that. And lastly, iNaturalist requires less resources. So in our pre-pandemic events, we would have coffee and tea set up in the morning and cookies and sandwiches and refreshments. In between our sessions, we'd have mingling. We would have experts come in and volunteer their time. We printed out data sheets. We had ID books. There's a lot of resources and time that went into the event. And with iNaturalist, especially if you're working on a budget or if you're being funded by various grants and your funding doesn't come through, iNaturalist is a really great alternative because all you need to do is create the project, pick your location, your date. It requires a lot less resources and manpower from our experience. iNaturalist also analyzes the data for you. Again, in our pre-COVID BioBlitzes, we would have to manually take every single data sheet and enter every species that was seen into Excel from every participant and then analyze that data, which took up quite a bit of time. So iNaturalist is really great. Once you have finished your event, you can hit download. It sorts all the data into different columns for you and away you go. So we had a really great experience and I hope that you guys have a lot of fun with your upcoming BioBlitz. So with that.
That's great, Mandy. Before we roll on to Carrie, there's 2 questions. Pam, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question about iSeek?
Yes, I was just wondering whether iSeek speaks to iNaturalist, i.e. if I take a picture on iSeek because I don't know what it is, and it tells me, then can I add it to my list of observations that I've made?
I'm not extremely familiar with iSeek, but if you have the photo and you've identified what that species is, you could definitely then go onto iNaturalist and upload it there. Because from my understanding, those are 2 different databases.
Okay, so I'd have to take another picture of it.
Unless it's already stored in your phone, if it's in your camera roll, then you would just have to upload it to the app.
Okay. When you take a picture with iNaturalist, does it go on your camera roll or is it just on the iNaturalist app?
It will go on your camera roll as well. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
have an iPhone and that's what it does for me. I wouldn't think that Androids would be any different, but I'm pretty sure for both, if you take a picture through the app, it'll then also be stored in your camera roll.
Thank you.
I have an Android and mine does store in my phone in my gallery as well.
Perfect.
So I have, yeah, it works on mine that way too.
And we had a quick question from Nikki before we move on to Carrie. Nikki, do you want to unmute and ask it?
Oh, I can't hear you, Nikki.
No, you still there, Nikki? She disappeared. let's come back to Nikki. So let's move on to Carrie. Carrie, we met Carrie because she's active at VIU doing a GIS practicum program, and she's been working with us on wetlands mapping, and which has been quite exciting. And then we pervaded her, we twisted her arm to, without any difficulty, get her involved in our BioBlitz as well. So Carrie's been looking at more of our local stuff. Do you want to take it away, Carrie?
Absolutely. Thank you, Guy. And thank you, Mandy. That was awesome. I appreciate your help. And I know that I know she gave me a few tips and tricks when I started to learn this too, because I've only been using the iNaturalist app for a couple of months. So, you know, she's a little ahead of me. So it was great. Thank you. So I am Carrie-Lyn Robinson, and like Guy was saying, I am a GIS master's student, and I am mapping their wetlands currently and just finishing up that project. The BioBlitz is sort of an event that's sort of close, near and dear to my heart. It's a great way to interact with the community and community members, and you know, bringing that community engagement is really important aspect of my school career. It was something I was involved in the dean's office when I worked there. So it was something that I really like to do. So that's why I offered to do the BioBlitz. First thing I'm going to do is actually do a little demonstration.
While you're doing that, Heather is asking, what is GIS while you're getting your slides up? It's Geographical Information Systems, I believe, right?
Yes, that's what it stands for, but that doesn't exactly describe what it is. It doesn't tell you what that does. Basically, it's a really fancy computer program that you can plug in any type of data information and you pop a map for whatever you need it for, whether that's mapping where you want to put a new city sewer line, where crime rates are growing or shrinking, or whether what I plan to do with it is to use it for archaeology and in the future, mapping archaeological sites. I've been using it to map the wetlands in Yellow Point, and that is what I'm currently learning to use it for. So it's just a fancy computer program, high-tech coloring, making maps.
Great.
So I will share my screen here, maybe. Share my screen. Share screen. Share screen. Share screen. Okay. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so I'm actually controlling the Yellow Point Ecological Society site right now. I created it for them so that in the future they can always pass it on to somebody else. It will always be activated for the whole society. It can continue on long into the future so they can continue doing that temporal changes of species in their area. This is my personal account. I am Sock Monkey, and that's just something that my husband said and it made me laugh. So that's why I'm Sock Monkey. So I did this so that I could show you how to be able to get onto the BioBlitz site from your app. So if you go into, this is what it looks like. This is what my account looks like. You have your observations. And this is on my actual computer. So my phone is a little bit different. It's always a little different depending on your device. But this is the observations that I did. So if you go up here to your observations, right beside it, you've got community. So this is how we're going to get to the BioBlitz. You can register on the BioBlitz itself if you want to, or you can go check it out, the homepage. So this is how you're going to get there. You go to community, you look in projects. Everybody's following along just okay? And then once you're here, into projects, you can go search for projects.
Nikki, I have a question already. If I've downloaded it on my phone, does that mean automatically it's on my computer, or do I have to download it on my computer as well?
No, you would go into and you would just Google inaturalist.ca.
Okay.
And then it'll come in with a sign in, just like if you're re-signing in for your Gmail account or your email account, and you just sign in like you would for any other account.
Okay.
And you put in your name or your email. So you can I can either use SockMonkey or my email address.
Okay.
And that's how you would be able to access it from your computer, your laptop, or whatever, or even a different device like your tablet. I have a tablet, I have a phone, I have a laptop, so I have a lot of different devices, and I've been able to access it all from each of them. So the name of our BioBlitz, which I've put up in a few places, is the YES BioBlitz, because I've looked this up before. It automatically comes in it, and you need to type it in the way it is here. And that's the way it is. YES being Yellow Point Ecological Society, and the BioBlitz. So type it with the capitals the way they are. And then it comes up here, and then it comes up with the icon. Sometimes it will come up with a different screen that has 5 little boxes on the side that say all taxa, projects, and people. Click on the projects again, and you'll end up here at your YES BioBlitz again. Now, if you just click on the icon, that's the Yellow Point Ecological Society. Here's the BioBlitz. And you can read all about the BioBlitz here, which is all about there, what the requirements are. So this is where it's going to be, what we're going to want everything to be research grade. So after you've taken your photos, make sure you go back in and check out what everybody else is doing, and check them out and see what they can do, which I'll explain a little further in my presentation. And then on your BioBlitz here, so we're going to go back to the BioBlitz. This is your BioBlitz homepage for our Yellow Point. Down here, you have the map. And if you want to look and see if you're within the zone, so this is the map that I created for our zone. It was just sort of an arbitrarily decided, this is where we were going to do it. And we'll revisit that after this BioBlitz. So you can zoom right in on this map, and you can go right to whatever road you want. So all the brown areas are in the BioBlitz, and anything that's white or blue are not. So this allows you to see where you need to be inside of. So if you want to know if your house is in the BioBlitz, this will show you that there. And it's, yeah. If you go in here, you can also see that we've got the Nanaimo River Regional Park, which is one place where you could go and do this. You've got the Yellow Point Park is just down here below the bog, the ecological reserve. We do ask that people not go to Woodley Range, because that is a sensitive area that is being protected at the moment. So don't go there. You can go down to Boat Harbor. You can go anywhere in these areas. And if you're not quite sure where you want to go, just check out this map, and it'll show you all the parks. We've got Hammer Park, we've got the Cable Bay Trail, we've got Jack Point Park. And even if you have a boat, you can go out here and take some of observations too. So there's lots of fun ways to do this with your family. And I just wanted to be able to show you how to be able to access this map so you can see this. Okay. So that's the app itself and the BioBlitz. So now I'm going to stop this one and just change my screens to my little event here and share. I need to share. I'm going to share my screen with this one. And this is,
while you're doing that, Lauren is asking, can we map our own property? And the answer is absolutely yes. A lot of us, have acreage around here. So dig in, go to those parts of your property you don't normally visit, and yes is the answer.
yes, if you're within that brown area, Absolutely. We encourage you to stay and take your kids out there, have a great day, and identify as many, get as many people involved as you can. Enjoy your own backyard.
If you stay out at night, you might even catch the rats
Maybe, or frogs.
or frogs.
And
Definitely
I
the frogs.
I don't think this is working properly. Which
We can
screen are you
see,
seeing?
we can see the BioBlitz event, and
Okay.
but you're not. If you do play from the beginning, it'll help better. Play from the start.
Yeah, that is the start. So is it, are you seeing the one single screen?
No, we're seeing two screens.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know why it's doing that. It's not supposed to do that. Okay, hang on.
Try that one again. It's a thing.
I'm gonna do it one. It's probably because it went onto my other screen. Is that better?
There's nothing up yet. We're still waiting.
Oh, sorry guys. Technology.
There you go.
It's awesome. Gotta love this stuff.
Nothing sharing yet.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I try that again. Okay. And sure. There we go. Okay, now.
Yes. Now from the beginning and
From the beginning. There we go. Now it's working properly. Okay, so these are observations I made while mapping my wetlands. I found a beautiful red-breasted sapsucker, or yellow-bellied sapsucker he might be. I can't remember. I think he's yellow-bellied is what he's called. And this, I just wanted to enhance the importance of all types of things that you want to take. This is something called wild celery, and I didn't even know what it was, but that's what it is. And it's just important to take pictures of anything that you think, even if you don't think it's important, it might very well be. And this is, of course, a Pacific tree frog, the green tree frog. So it's just a nice little guy who was hiding from me because he didn't want his picture taken, but I got him anyways. So the BioBlitz, right? Mandy was wonderful in describing what it's all about. So I'm going to give you actual details on ours. So our BioBlitz details start Saturday, May 1st at 6 a.m. So those people who like to get up early in the morning, you can capture some of the birds all having a great time, whether that's by sound, like Mandy was saying, or actually taking their picture. So that's great. And it ends at 8:00 p.m. on Monday, May 3rd. So anytime between then, it runs the entire time. So just to make sure you're registered, so you're available for the book draws, which I do have the books here. They're here. We've got a nice bird book. We've got a nice amphibian book, Plants of Coastal BC, and 2 copies of the mammals, because I accidentally got 2 somehow. So you want to upload your observations each day. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whichever day you're coming, or if you're going to be all 3, have them uploaded by 8 p.m. so that we can, that's just a technical issue, a logistics issue that I need to be able to transfer all of that. But that doesn't mean you can't continue to take photos and upload them after. That's just for the draw. So it runs continuously. So if you happen to see this guy jump on your wall at 10:30 at night, you can take his picture and still upload him. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you add a camera photo now. So I hope most of you have downloaded the app and actually seen what your home observation page looks like on your phone or your smart device. And so you've got your observations, you've got your species and your identifications, and then up here on your observations. So you begin by hitting the plus sign. So you want to add an observation, right? And then you can do that either by taking a photo in the app itself, or you can choose an image from what's in your phone. So if you took a picture of something with your camera on your phone, you can add that by using this button, this choose image button. Then you go in, the next screen will come up with your whole gallery. You can click on your little guy. I took a picture of a little a house sparrow. And then up comes it in this picture. So now you've got your observation in there. To add more pictures, you can do this either in the app by taking the photo once it's popped your first picture up, you just click on the little camera again, and you can take a second picture, and you can take a third picture, and you can have 7 or 8 pictures all lined up here, which you'll see at the end, there'll be 2. So you can take more than one picture in the app itself, or you can just upload more. So next, if you want to, you can, if you're seen as a little far out and you can't quite see what he is, you can go in and you can duplicate that picture by clicking on this little button right here, and that will make a second one, and you'll have 2 of the same picture. Now, if you want to get a little closer to your little friend, you can go in there, you hit this button, which is your edit button, and you can crop your picture. So this is the original picture, and you can crop it just like you can in photos in your computer. And you can crop it in right in the app itself. And then you hit your check mark, and then now you'll have 2. And one will be the original, and the other one will be that nice little close-up. So, and like Mandy said, don't forget to put something in what you saw, whether it's bird or going in there and seeing what the iNaturalist app will come up with to make suggestions. Also, if you have a camera and it doesn't have your location device on it, you can add those afterwards if you know where you were. You can get the coordinates in there and you can go back in. For those people who know a little more, you can practice with that too. You can add that later. I just want to remind everybody to keep the COVID safety, follow all the provincial guidelines, stay within your family group. All the kids follow your teachers or parental guidelines, and don't gather in large groups. And use the app to share with your friends. Tell them all about this. Tell them you're going to get more than them. And you're going to have fun making great time. So like Mandy mentioned, there are professional biologists and different professionals who keep the taxa, this built-in taxa. There are thousands of identified species on this. And that's what comes up in that, what did you see? The app automatically brings you up a list of all the different species they think it could possibly be. And it's just the database they have is extensive. It's just massive. So when you're in here, you can also put whether it's alive or dead. You can put whether it's adult or young or pupa, depending on what it is. So even if you don't, you can take pictures of caterpillars too. They're important too. So, and they would be obviously pupa stage. And then sometimes you can even determine the sex. Many birds you can. So check that off too, because that's kind of important too. These are all the professional communities, naturalists and protection agencies use this app as well, so they can identify species and be able to go in there and see what can be done to protect their areas. And some studies have been formed from the iNaturalist app, where a biologist will go do in-depth study on a certain area because they noticed something was on here. So the more accurate it is, the better. And basically, any questions?
Carrie, if you want to stop sharing, we can all then see each other as we. I'm sure there's all sorts of questions lurking around when you finish the screen. You're still sharing.
Yeah. Yes, I'm getting there. Or at least I think I am.
So while you're doing that, I will get things started with a question for Mandy. You, when you did an in-person BioBlitz, you showed people watching insects on a white square on the ground. What's your advice for catching insects using iNaturalist?
That's a really good question. I guess using iNaturalist, it's a bit difficult because there is that disconnect between the host and the participants, or even between participants. So I was not informed of their methods of how they went out and what they used, if they used a net or that canvas catcher or what they used. So unfortunately, I don't really know what the methods were.
So if someone was to say, can I lift up a piece of moss and look what's underneath, then puts the moss back, does that count as fair game, or?
I suppose it would. I always try, I like that leave no trace method where you're not kind of trampling on things. Like I always recommend people stick to the trail so you're not kind of squishing things that or sensitive ecosystems just because they're small and you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. So I would try and go for things that are out in the open, they're on a branch, or they're clearly visible instead of kind of invading.
So if you have questions, either feel free to unmute yourself and just ask away. I'll keep going because I got another one here, which is there's a couple of calypso orchids. Well, I found calypso orchids in the forest, and they're very, very few and far between. Is there a danger that if I have my geolocation app on it with a calypso orchid, someone's going to say, oh, look, I can go and get one, dig it up and put it in my backyard? Mandy, what do you think?
Sorry, I wasn't sure who that question was.
Well, either of you. So the calypso orchid question, if it's a rare, I would call them rare. There's compared to the shooting stars and the Ethroniums, there are very, very few of them. There's one for every 10,000, right?
I think that's when the geoprivacy setting comes in. I think people will often use that so that your exact location is not being pinpointed. So it provides a range. It might say, oh, you're in kind of South Nanaimo, that's where it was. But you're not providing access to the exact GPS coordinates of where that rare species is. So I think that's a really good use of that setting.
So Nicola Mill is asking, do you have to create an account with iNaturalist, or can you just use it as a database? Nicola, do you want to unmute yourself and verbalize that, make it a bit clearer question?
Yeah, hi. So I was just sort of have an aversion to creating all these massive number of accounts I'm getting. So I wonder what the benefit or the drawback is to just not creating an account and doing the observations. Mandy?
I was just going to go and check, but I believe you need an account to create observations. I'm not sure if you can just search for things without having an account. If you can just see kind of the observations that have been made. But
okay.
I thought Carrie was telling us that that during those 3 days, every photo taken in that area gets caught in the same database without having to register. Is that right, Carrie?
I'm not positive about that. I believed it was, that's what I believed, but somebody's been following us and they actually joined the project itself. So I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if Mandy knows whether people have to actually join the project, but from what I read, what I understand, like I said, I'm new to this too, is if you're in there, they will be recorded and uploaded to our BioBlitz between Saturday at 6 a.m. and Monday at 8. I don't know.
That is a setting for the host. So when we did ours, I had the option kind of behind the scenes. I could either make it so that only people who had joined our project could contribute to the project's observations, or you can click the setting where anyone who records an observation in your boundaries that you've defined will automatically be uploaded.
Yeah, I believe that's the one that I set up. But in order to do that, I'm pretty sure you have to be an iNaturalist. You have to have your own account.
I believe so.
That question. As far as I know, you have to have an account to be part of the BioBlitz.
That's usually the way they work. And I just saw that it seemed like it was an option, so I thought I'd double check. Thank you for the answers.
Any other
and as far as like Guy said, or like we were saying for Guy, you can turn on those your geo privacy and it won't do it. It won't give a pinpoint. Not only that, if there is an endangered or species that is at risk, iNaturalist will identify that and they will actually make it. This was common with snakes. They were having an issue where when people were taking pictures of snakes, people were going out and killing the snakes. So to protect them, they made it so that there was always this sort of wider boundary around those, you know. So if they notice that, they will actually do that too.
So I had another comment. When you described the process of going on the website and being on the phone, it sounded quite complicated, but this is my iNaturalist shot. When I click on the logo, all I have to do then is go down the bottom and click on the camera, and I immediately can take a photo, and then my camera then shows up, and then I just click share. It'll say identify this species, and it'll offer me likely things, and then I can click share, and it goes into the system. It seems like really easy.
It is. The only reason why I mentioned that you can take a photo within the app, like you're saying, but I found the birds, they can be quite flighty. So I found it easier to take pictures of the birds using my actual camera on my phone.
Oh, gotcha.
Because then you can go click, 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 which you can't do in the app.
Oh, right.
But on your phone, you can take rapid succession of pictures, right? Because they move, and some are blurry and some are not, right? So if you use your camera, you can take pictures of things that move quickly, or different things. Like when I was taking pictures of the seal that I took pictures of, I did several in rapid succession to try and get him or her. And then I went back in and uploaded those photos later. And that's why I mentioned that you can use your camera and upload them after, because I found it hard to catch the birds every time and get that perfect photo, because we want to be able to identify them.
And then other people, there are some citizen scientists out there who enjoy looking at all these and saying, yes, you identified that right, or no, it's one of these, or it's one of those.
Absolutely. And we as participants can go onto that BioBlitz, check out the other observations of our other people who are doing this, everybody who's going to join us that day, and we can go in and we can approve those observations. You can go in there, compare their observations with the iNaturalist app, and approve those observations, and then they become research grade. So we'll all work as a community to get these looked after and brought up to that research grade and confirmed of what they are.
And so what I found is, in certainly dealing with the multiplicity of plants and small plants, the closer you get to show the actual veins of the leaf or the tiny flower, the easier it is for someone else to identify it. You have to get, literally down on your knees, camera like 6 inches from the plant sometimes, right?
Yep, absolutely. That piece of wild celery or whatever it is, that yellow flower, I got right in there, right up close, and I was still standing on the thing. It was on a rock face right beside me, so I was able to get nice and close to it. So
yeah, and I know that Ben is with us, our regional director for Area H. If you go down to your dock, Ben, on Michael Lake, there's some waders down there. We're expecting you to catch those waders and put them in the database, right?
Actually, I'm just gonna put some kids in the lake first.
okay.
that'll scare the waders away, though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And the mention of invasives. Do you want to say a word about invasive species? We could all click broom until the broom's coming out of our yin yang. But Mandy's saying yes, please do photograph invasives. It's not just the broom; it's holly.
Holly.
It's
the Daphne.
Yeah.
Ivy, big one.
Ivy.
Yeah.
And on the lakes, of course, if you take a kayak out on any of our lakes, it's the milfoil.
Eurasian milfoil, yeah.
Some of the on Quesnel Lake, the very beauty of the lake is all invasives.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to go in the estuary, the point between Jack Point Park and Nanaimo, in my boat and throw my crab trap out there and see what I catch. And I'll pull them all up and take some pictures of whatever I catch, throw them back in, or maybe a couple for dinner. And see, I know that we do have an invasive crab species, and that's the European green crab. And that is something we need to mark where those are. And there's all sorts of fishery rules about those. So I don't know them all, but the invasive European green crab, bad creature.
Greg, you've got your hand up. Do you want to jump in, Greg?
Thanks, Guy and Carrie. And and Mandy for your presentation. I was quickly looking at your map, so I had opened another computer, and you may have answered these questions while I was doing that, because I wanted to see whether the areas where I walk are inside the boundary, and they do look like they are. They're in a little west of Ladysmith here. And, but I wanted to, it sounds, Carrie, like the way you've set it up, when I do a photo, if I do it on my phone, it's going to record the location and it will automatically load it to the project. So I don't have to log into that project before I go out in the morning for it to be part of the project. I joined the project or signed up the other day, I guess. So that's the first question. If I use the phone, it'll automatically record it to the area. Is that correct?
Carrie?
Unmute. Yeah, as long as you're within that brown boundary,
Okay.
on between Saturday at 6 a.m. until
Okay.
Monday at 8 o'clock at night, yes.
Okay. Now the camera I use doesn't have a GPS in it. It's a little older camera, so it's not going to have the location. And I would come home at the end of the day, download that to my computer, and then create the observation. So how do I then indicate where it is in the area where I took that picture?
That is entirely possible. I didn't do an actual detailed demonstration of that, but if you load your photos onto your computer,
Yeah.
and then you load them into the app, you can actually put the location in there, the actual GPS coordinates. So if you have it on your phone, take one with your phone or whatever, just if you have the coordinates,
Right.
then you can upload those after. And sometimes even the date doesn't work, so you can change the date too.
Okay. And the other one is because the warblers and some of the smaller birds are moving through, and we've got quite a bit of leaf out now, we're not probably going to get a picture of some of those, maybe flycatchers, warblers and things, but we'll hear them or see them. Is there a way to record it just as a written? Let's say I saw a Pacific Slope flycatcher, an alder flycatcher or something, but I don't have a picture.
Mandy had that one on her thing, on her
So I may have been missing
on her
that.
presentation.
Okay.
She had mentioned that if in the app itself, if you look on your phone or even on your computer, either or, you can actually do it without a photo, or you can do it with an audio recording as well.
Right.
So either or, there's lots of different options to be able
Okay.
to do that.
And just as an information item, I've just found this iNaturalist quite amazing. So I was researching and I looked at other projects in our area, and one you might want to have a look at is John Reynolds, who's head of I never pronounce it right, COSWIC, the Endangered Species Committee across Canada. He's at SFU, but he must have a place on Ruxton Island. And if you look up Ruxton Island as a project, he's got over 600 species listed on Ruxton Island alone. And he also does another co-chair of a project for BC Parks. And there's 10,000 people contributing to BC Parks one. So it's just, I wasn't aware of this 2 weeks ago. So it's quite amazing to learn about this. Thank you very much for introducing it to us.
That's great.
Good.
So-
Thank you, Greg. And I just ask you to spread the word too.
So Carrie, I'm going to take a minute to just show about the registration importance. So if you go to our website, Yellow Point Ecological Society, you click on BioBlitz here, and you'll see that it takes you down. It starts in 2 days. There's the thing, and then we've got registration for today's meeting. Registration for the BioBlitz. Click here, and that wasn't much good. It says I've already. Let me show. Try another one because I've already filled it in. Oh, how can I show it without one I haven't filled in? That's a challenge. Because unless you register, you don't qualify for our prizes. That's what we're trying to be patient with me here a second, folks. This is very unprofessional. I got to sign in properly.
Well, you sign in. Not only that, if you agree to have us put you on our BioBlitz mailing list, we can also inform you when we do this again next year, and that's also part of the registration.
So when you click that link, you get this registration form. It just asks your name, the community, and contact list. Do you want to be on a general mailing list? So then you're registered. We can inform you about all the results because we'll have your contact details and enter you in these prizes. So why don't you take the screen again, Carrie, and just, not the screen, but show us those prizes just to remind people what they are, because you went through it very quickly. Show them nice and big, get people tempted. Have we lost Carrie? Have you gone muted? Carrie, you're muted. Help, help.
Help. Sorry. So we've got the mammals of British Columbia, and these are great because I've actually used these on some of mine because I couldn't quite tell what things were. And they've got the tracks of different animals, which I've seen tracks on iNaturalist too. So you can actually take tracks of animals too. They count too. And you do want to take pictures of anything dead you find too. That's important too. So these are really great books. Nice Wolverine. Not that we have him right here, but this is the mammals book. Okay, and then there's plants of coastal British Columbia.
The famous Nancy.
Yes, the most beautiful one. More beautiful illustrations, right? And then we've got the amphibians, my personal favorite. I love the little frogs and salamanders. I love them, guys. I got tons of them already. And then you've got all your beautiful photos in here too. And then there's also the invasive bullfrog. So you do want to mark him down too. And then there's this nice little pocket size, but still really thick and beautifully done. Nice photos. That's in great. There. And they've also got maps on them of where they all are, where they're located. Like some you won't find on the island, some you will find, but maybe ones that we are finding them on the island and they're not in this book. So, in the future, these books can be updated by what we do on iNaturalist. So they're really great books. And that's in total, there's 5 books.
Cool. And there's a prize every day, or one a day and then 2 on the last day?
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes. So
Mandy, anything you want to say in wrapping up before we sort of end tonight's meeting? Any final thoughts you've had during this session? Mandy?
I was just looking at, I'll share my screen for 1 second, because we created the location, because the location wasn't included on iNaturalist beforehand. I was just looking and it records all of the observations, even once your project is over. So now if I am curious about maybe an endangered species within our biosphere region boundaries, this is how much data we have to work with. So that's really quite incredible. So kind of just a fun fact more than a closing up note, but so yeah, and I hope it'll be helpful for you as well to have this information and collecting it over time. And I hope your participants have a really great time, and yeah, good luck.
I want to share a closing thought as well. My older sister, when she was 10 years old, she was an avid naturalist, and she had a book with the plants' names in it. And we went exploring in an area down in South Wales on the coastline, and she wrote down every single flower that she found. 50 years later, they were doing an ecological restoration project, and they needed to know what they had there in the past. And her flower book with her notes when she was a 10-year-old was used 50 years later to record the progress of flowers in or out of that area over time. So that's the value of this kind of data, that in 100 years time, people can say, oh, they had those then, because that was recorded. So look, thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Thank you, Mandy, for coming all the way down. It's a long trip all the way down from the Biosphere Reserve up there. Thank you, Carrie, for your leadership and for sharing on all this. And we will see you online through the BioBlitz over the weekend, starting Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Let's see if we can beat that 833 record number right.
You set the bar pretty high,
You
Mandy.
set the bar pretty high. Pamela, you want to say something in closing? I can see you looking excited there, just waving. Right?
I did. There was just a question, is this being recorded? So yes, it is. And if you've lost any of the, got confused as I did, you can just re-watch it.
I will upload this to YouTube, and we'll send an email out on the Friday with that link that also Mandy gave to the video on this sort of stuff. And then we'll be all ready to roll on Saturday morning. And if you're on our email list, you'll get the results of it on sometime the next week. So look, thank you, everyone. And
one more quick thing.
yes.
Two more, actually. Yeah, so if you have any questions, you can always go onto the Yellow Point Ecological Society, their website. And if you don't find the questions there, you can send me an email to the YES BioBlitz email, okay, which is also, I believe, recorded on the site. And if it's not, we'll have it up there shortly.
Okay, so it's over and out, everyone. Thanks for a lovely session, and we'll see you over the weekend in the parks and everywhere else. Take care then. Bye-bye.